Hello, welcome back to Suburban Hunt 365. I'm DJ, and I'm actually in a hotel room right now, out traveling as I often do. And I was looking through some of the comments, and that's what prompted this video. A couple of you guys, or more than a couple of you guys, had made comments about the fact that Blackhorn 209, while it's easier to clean and, in my opinion, a little bit better powder, it's way too expensive. Especially when the going rate for it is about, what I've seen is about $83 for an 8-ounce jug. So I can't disagree with you there that it is an expensive powder. But that got me thinking, okay, well, that one we can agree is probably the most expensive, but where do the rest of them sit? And honestly, it's got me thinking a little bit more about some other powders. So let's get into it and let's find out which ones are the cheapest to shoot and which ones aren't. All right, guys, just as a disclaimer real quick, even though, yes, I am wearing my Mid-South Shooter Supply shirt, which is where I get most of my stuff, I wanted to go to a website that had all of the different powders, not only available, but in stock. That way we were doing a fair comparison, just on the off chance that another website that didn't have a powder maybe had backordered, had an outdated price. So I went to Shields and they had them all. So let's go ahead and let's dig into it. First up is going to be the 777 pellets. And as you can see on their website, as of today, their price is $39.99 for 100-pack pellets. Okay, now I'm going to let you know right now that I'm not adding anything to this price because sales tax differs, shipping differs, and every situation is going to be different. So to make this as fair as possible, I'm just going to be using the list price on this website. Also, just before we get into it, when I do the math, I'm only going to go to the fourth place. So it's going to be a decimal and 4 places over. You'll see at the end, the reason I do that is to really make it fair for the loose powders. Because at first with the 777s, we're simply going to be using the pellets. And as I've mentioned in other videos, it's not really fair. Most of my loose powders I do by weight. And I've kind of shown you that with a pellet, you're getting all kinds of different weights. So they sell them by the pellet, so we're going to do the quantity by the pellet. So getting over into my chart real quick, 777 pellets at the price that you saw of $3.99 or $39.99, pardon me. You have 100 pellets, which is easy math, right? Makes it to 0.3999. So right just below that 40% mark or 40 cents mark. And again, I'm doing this on purpose. So we have your two major loads. You have 100 grains, which is 2 pellets, and that math comes out to 0.7998. Okay, so 80 cents for a shot with 777 pellets, not terrible. And then we get over to our 150 grain, which is 3 pellets, and the math then comes out to 1.1997. So about $1.20 per shot with 150 grain. Now, what we have to look at is the accuracy of the 100 grain versus the 150 grain. Are you willing to spend the extra, basically 40 cents per shot to make sure that your groups are better? If they group better, I would say it's a no-brainer. But that is ultimately left up to the shooter, right? So we're gonna move on to the Power Decks pellets. And again, here's the website. And again, they are $39.99. So pretty much all of the values that we just did for 777 are going to be the same. So we're going to go through them. You got $39.99 for the pack. Then you have 100 pellets. They come out to be 0.3999, again below 40 cents. And your 100 grain charge is coming in at 0.7998. Your 150 grain charge is coming in at 1.1997. So there again, if you're running your 777s or you're running your Power Decks pellets, which according to their own website, they're pretty much the same powder. Their volume and their velocities are pretty much interchangeable. So why they still make both, I don't know. So there you go, 777s, fairly inexpensive, 80 cents per shot on a 2. And 120 cents on the 3, which is 150 grains. So getting into the newer fangled ones, which is kind of where we knew this was going to start working its way up. Let's go ahead and start off with the White Hots. The White Hots are coming in at $35.99. Now this is a 72 pellet pack, and the math then, so $35.99 divided by 72 comes out to be 0.4998. So just below that 50 cents per pellet, per pellet. So now we're looking at 100 grains. 100 grains is coming in at 0.9996, which is basically a dollar, right? Again, I'm doing this for the loose powder that you're gonna see here at the end of the video, but basically a dollar per shot for the 2 pellets of the white hots. Then we move up to the 150 grains, 3 pellets, and you're coming in at 1.4994, which is it's $1.50, right? So $1.50 per shot of the white hots. So when you stop and think about that, say, okay, well, $1.50, $3, $4.50 for one group. So you're shooting a 3-round group, you're burning $4.50, right? But that's what we do, we love what we love, and we're gonna keep shooting, right? I'm not gonna slow down, but that lets us know. So getting back to the differences here, you're looking at a 150 grain charge with the white hots being basically $1.50, and then the 777 and the Pyrodex being $1.20. So you have a 30 cents difference there in the shot per shot. So is your groups being better worth 30 cents a shot? In my opinion, yeah, but it just depends on you. Again, it ultimately comes down to the shooter. Now moving on to one of the newest pellets on the market, the 777 Fire Stars. This comes in a little bit cheaper at $31.99 per pack, but it also comes in at a 60 pellet pack. So it's coming in a little bit lower in the quantity there. So doing the math, we got 31.99 divided by 60 equals 0.5331. So a little over 53 cents per pellet. Now this one being the Fire Stars, these actually took more. So if you remember, it actually is the equivalent of 33 grains instead of 50. So it takes 3 pellets just to make a 100 grain load. So a 3 pellet load is it's 1.5993. So $1.60 for just a 3 pellet load for the equivalent of 100 grains. Not a great, I didn't have a great showing when I did mine. Y'all are more than welcome to go back and look at the different videos and the comparison of where the Fire Star landed, but it is definitely, in my opinion, a little bit higher on the price tag for what I'm seeing in my groups. Yours could be different. I mean, 100%, it could be different. So moving on to the 4 pellet groups, or the 4 pellets rather, that price tag comes in at 2.1324, $2 and basically 13 cents per shot. Not a cheap one. Actually, it's the most expensive one. 4 pellets. I did shoot 5 pellets in a couple of those just to see how they did. It kicked like a dang horse. I won't be doing that, so I'm not going to suggest you guys do that. So we're going to leave that. We're going to leave that one alone. All right. So moving on to the 777 Magnum pellets, those packs are coming in at $34.99 per pack, but they're also coming in at 50 pellets per pack. So doing the math there, we got $34.99 divided by 50 comes in at 0.6998. So a little less than 70 cents per pellet. Now the good thing with this is that the Magnums only use 2 pellets. I heard of people using 3 pellets for that 120 grain load, or excuse me, 180 grain load, because these pellets do come in at 60 grains equivalent. So the 2 pellets is a 120 grain, but that one's going to come in at 1.3996, so $1.40. And then the 3 pellet group, again, we don't recommend shooting those. I've not shot them. I don't recommend you do. If you do, by all means, do what you do. I ain't your daddy. The 3 pellets is 2.0994. So basically $2.10. So it's less than the Fire Stars, but it does have a bigger equivalent because it is a 180 grain equivalent, whereas the 2 pellets are the 120 grain equivalent. So again, it comes down to what your groups look like in comparison. Is it worth the difference in the amount of pellets? So looking at this, some of the biggest groups, our best groups that we had rather, were the 777s. You know, some of the Pyrodex shot amazing groups, and you're shooting 80 cents to $1.20. You know, and then you start getting to the white hots, you're up to $1.50. 777, the Magnums is where you really start to get into that $2 plus realm per shot when you start doing the bigger loads. So there again, it really just depends on what what's your groups, what's your accuracy looking like, what you guys feel like running. This video is just to break down the price of those. Now, I want to give a shout out to Jared real quick, because he runs the 777 45 caliber stuff, and so I want to go ahead and throw this out for him and for all the other guys that run the 45 cals. There are not a lot of pellets out there for you guys. There just really is not. So the 777 pellets, 45 caliber, this comes in at $25.99, right? Holy cow, that's awesome. It's a 50 pack. Now it's cheaper than the Magnums, but it's still a 50 pack. So doing the math on that, we got 25.99 divided by 50 comes out to 0.5198. So basically 52 cents per pellet. Fixing to get a little bit expensive, right? So 100 grains, 2 pellets, comes in at 1.0396. So $1.04 per load, or per shot. And then you go over to the 150 grains, that comes in at 1.5594, so basically $1.56 per shot. So, those really kind of land just above the white hots, just a little bit, but it's 45 caliber. So I don't know if it's just not popular with the 45 cal guys. Most of them are using loose powders. I don't know. Not really sure why. There's not a big variety for you guys out there. But I wanted to throw this one in there for you guys, so there's a little something for you. So Jared, hope you appreciate that, brother. All right, now let's get down to the reason that most people are here. Let's do the Blackhorn 209. We're gonna get into our loose powders. Excuse me. Now, as it would have it, like I said, previous part of this video, most of the cans that I've seen are around that $83 mark at Walmart or wherever we can find them. But as luck would have it, they actually have theirs posted for they have theirs posted for $79.99. This is still for a 8-ounce can. Now, getting into the Blackhorn 209, because I use weight. Now, 8 ounces is by weight. They're not doing volumetric there. That is 8 ounces by weight. That converts to 3,500 grains by weight. Okay, so I'm going to keep going down across this, but as we go through these, you're going to see I'm going to have the volume equivalent, but all the calculations are going to be done via the weight. So getting into it, we have 79.99 divided by 3,500 is going to give us 0.0228 per grain. Now that may seem a lot cheaper than the other ones, but again, we're going by grain, not pellet. All right, so that comes in at a 56 grain, which is a 80 grain by volume, comes in at 1.2768. So $1.28 per shot on the lower end. Some of those did okay, but most of us we like the 80 to 84 grains. So let's go ahead and move up. According to the Blackhorn chart, the 100 grains by volume is the 70 grains by weight. So 70 grains by weight is going to bring out to 1.596. That's $1.60 per shot for the middle range stuff, for the 70 grains. Now getting into what most of us so far that I've heard is the 84 grains, which is the 120 grain volume equivalent, is going to be 1.9152. So 19152. So $1.90 per shot on the bigger 120 grain. The biggest load for the Blackhorn 209, surprisingly, actually is below the 777 Firestars and the 777 Magnums. If you look up on the chart here, you'll see that the 4 pellets for the 777 is $2.13, give or take. And then the Magnum loads, again, I wouldn't recommend those, but people have shot them, is $2.09. So is Blackhorn 209 really that much more expensive than some of the other pellets you're running, right? So if you're running 777s or a Magnum load of the 777 Mags, the answer is no. You're actually spending more money on what you're running than the Magnum load of the Blackhorn 209. Then if you come down to the other end of the spectrum, where you've got the 56 grains by weight, you got 127. Again, your 777s and your actual Magnums are more expensive than your Blackhorn 209 on the lower end of the spectrum, right? So again, it just depends on what shoots well for you and how does the price compare. So Blackhorn 209, while it is on the more expensive end of the spectrum, it's not the most expensive. All right, guys, so we're gonna get into the 777s. The 777 has the FFG and the FFFG. Now, these are similar powders. They're not the same powders. There are differences, but we're not getting into those in this video. All we're looking at in this video is the price per shot. So as you can see here on the screen, they are $38.99, same price across both of them. Now they both come in 1 pound jugs. 1 pound is 7,000 grains by weight, just like with Blackhorn 209. 8 ounces was 3,500. 16 ounces, which is 1 pound, is 7,000 grains by weight. So getting into the math here, we got 38.99 divided by 7,000 is going to give us 0.0055 per grain. So basically half a cent per grain is what we're looking at right now. With 777, we're going to be looking at the fact that the standard known conversion for 777 is going to be that 100 grain by volume load is 77.7 grains by weight. That is, I'm assuming, how they came up with their name. There's a bunch of forums that talk about that. I'm not 100% sure, but I do know that the conversion is that. So at 100 grains, it is 77.7 grains by weight. So that makes the conversion for every 1 grain of powder by volume is equal to 0.777 by weight. So that's the conversion we're going to be using here. So we're looking at 80 grains by volume. That converts, so it's 80 times 0.777 gives us 62.16. 62.16 times 0.0055 is 0.3418. Less than 35 cents for an 80 grain shot. That is less than half of the cheapest in 777 pellets. Now granted, that's an 80 grain by volume instead of 100. So let's get into what the 100 costs. So 100 again is 100 grain by volume is 77.7, and doing the math there, that ends you up with 0.4273. So even if you round it, it's 43 cents per shot of the 100 grain by volume compared to the 100 grain by pellet, which is basically 80 cents. So 43 cents or 80 cents. That's gonna add up after a while. So let's go ahead, let's move up to the max load, which is 120 grain by volume. That math turns out to be 93.24 grains by weight. And then when you do the math at the 0.0055 per grain, you come in with a whopping 0.5128. 52 cents for the 120 grain by volume. The 777 150 grain, which is 3 pellets, because we're not gonna break those up. 150 grain is $1.20, and the 120 grain by volume, 93.24 by weight, is 52 cents. There again, less than half. Considering that if I was going to do a 150 grain 777 group, right, we're looking at 120, so 240, 360, so $3.60 versus 53 is going to be $1.53. So that's pretty impressive. Now I could definitely see, now that was comparing it to the 777 pellets. Now we go over to the Blackhorn 209 and we start comparing the, let's go with the max loads here. Which again, everybody seems to like the max loads for the Blackhorn 209. The 120 grain by volume, the 84 grain by weight was $1.91. Basically, call it well, you can leave it $1.91, and then you got 51 cents or 52 cents per. It's a 1-to-3 ratio. I can shoot an entire group for the cost of one shot of Blackhorn 209. So, all right, guys, so that actually puts us into the 777s, but what about the power decks? What about the Paradex? Now, Paradex has 3 powders. They have the pistol, they have the RS, which is your shotgun and rifle, which is rifle, shotgun, RS, and they have the Select. The Select's a little bit better variation. It's supposed to be a better variation of the RS, I guess. So looking at Scheels, it is $26.99 for a 1 pound jug. Okay, we just did the math on $38.99 on 777s. Now we're fixing to look in at $26.99, a $12 difference. All right, so there again, a pound is 7,000 grains. So let's do the math. 26.99 divided by 7,000 gives us 0.0038. So moving into our 80 grain by volume, which again is a 62.16 grain. The price coming at the 62.16 is going to be 0.2362. 24 cents. 24, a quarter. Call it a quarter per shot at an 80 grain load, right? That's some easy math for you. How about that? 4 shots for $1. Hello. All right, guys. Let's go ahead and let's move into the 100 grain by volume, which again we're using the same conversion as 77.7. That math ends up being 0.2952. So 30 cents a shot. So now we're at 3 shots for $1. I'm really liking the sound of this. Let's go to the Magnum load, or the max load rather, the max recommended load. I gotta quit calling them Magnum loads. The max recommended load is 120 grain by volume, which is the 93.24 grains by weight. That is coming in at a colossal 0.3543. Call it 36 cents. That's a little bit closer to the 3 for $1. It's a little bit over, but start looking at those. Again, I've done mostly the Blackhorn 209. It is incredibly easy to clean. It is a really good powder. It is the big thing, but when you're talking 36 cents for a 120 grain by volume load versus a $1.92 per shot, that's a ratio of 1 to 5. That's a lot. That is quite a lot. Quite a lot. So 1 to 5. Now, most packs that I've had come with about a 15 pack. So for the price of the Paradex RS, I could shoot the entire pack of projectiles for what it would cost one group of the Blackhorn 209. So that's some serious food for thought, guys. Some serious food for thought. So anyway, guys, I know this was kind of long. It was kind of boring. It was definitely informational. I know that I learned a lot from it. And, you know, again, it's just more information for you guys to make your own choices. Because at the end of the day, I can't tell you whether to use one powder or the next. It depends on what your gun likes to shoot to weigh out the price difference between each shot. So if you guys have stuck out with us this far, I definitely appreciate you guys hanging in there with me. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe button, hit the like button. Leave me a comment down below and let me know how long-winded this video was and your brain hurts. That's more than fine. So, guys, I really do appreciate you. From Suburban Hunt 365, I'm DJ. We'll catch you on the next one.